Fallout New Vegas is one of the most iconic Fallout games in the franchise. It's a title that's widely regarded amongst Fallout fans as their favorite Fallout game. It's developed a cult-like following over the years, and thanks to modding, it still has an active community to this day, despite the fact that the game itself is nearly 12 years old and runs on an older game engine. Fallout 3 was the first title in the series that I played myself, and I'll always remember that feeling of stepping out of Vault 101 for the first time. Having your eyes slowly adjust to the bright sun and peering out over the death and destruction of the Capital Wasteland. At the time, I didn't think the game could get much better. And then New Vegas came along. It took everything I liked about Fallout 3 and made it better in every way. I grew up in the American Southwest, and the landscape of the Mojave felt so much more like home to me. The factions were so much more interesting, the dialogue options and impact you had on the story were like nothing I'd ever seen. It truly was a masterpiece. Of course, times change and technology advances, and slowly over time, the age of the game has begun to show. But this hasn't had any impact on the love that fans have for the game. And so, projects continue to be developed and mods continue to be released. I'll say right away that this is not a video about the idea of New Vegas being on the creation engine. There are a couple of projects currently being worked on, including Fallout 4 New Vegas and Project Mojave, and there's some really cool footage out there showcasing what's been accomplished so far. But the focus of this video is about the original Fallout New Vegas that we've always loved and how to clean it up a bit so it looks and feels a little more up to date. So what does Fallout New Vegas look like in 2022? Or I guess a better question is, what should it look like? I've thought about this while slowly modding New Vegas myself. Now that we have access to so many improvements that were otherwise unavailable 12 years ago, how should Fallout New Vegas play in 2022? It sounds cliche, but modding is a lot like going on a journey. And if you set out without a clear destination, it's very easy to get lost wandering around a sea of mods. So I needed to establish a couple of rules. First, I didn't want to add any new fan-made quests or maps that aren't present in the original DLCs. That's not because I don't like them. It's actually the opposite. There's some incredible, fully voiced fan-made projects for New Vegas, including New Vegas Bounties and Fallout New California, to name a couple. But I wanted to approach this from the perspective of someone who may not be very familiar with modding and wants to keep things closer to the original New Vegas experience. So, no additional fan-made quests or maps. Second, I didn't want to drastically change the balance of the game. To clarify, when New Vegas was first released, there were hardware limitations that made certain things impossible, like being able to sprint, because consoles at the time simply couldn't handle loading the textures that quickly, or having detailed weather or lighting effects. These are things I consider okay to adjust, as it's in the spirit of how the game would have been if it were possible. But installing mods that completely change character perks or the leveling system, I decided to keep out. Again, this is not because of their quality, I just wanted to keep things as close as possible to the original experience. So with all that being said, let's get into a brief list of some of the mods I suggest and why I think they're a good choice. Admittedly, this is a very simple list. I know there's some very intricate and detailed mod packages available out there, and this may seem underwhelming to the advanced modder, but I think this is a great start for the average New Vegas fan. So let's start off by improving some of the graphics of the game itself. This includes the sky, the terrain, and the characters. First, we'll use the Fallout Character Overhaul mod. This will update the look of all the game's NPCs to appear a bit more realistic. While some of the main characters look quite a bit different, like some so much that it's a bit jarring, I think it's a good adjustment to the look of the game as a whole. Next, the NMCS texture pack will completely overhaul the textures of the game, making the environment look much more realistic. And third, the Nevada Skies mod will add all new weather effects and will bring the Mojave to life with beautiful detail. These three basic mods completely change the look of the game and instantly makes everything look more modern. Now let's improve the movement and flow of the game. One of my favorite mods from New Vegas is the Sprint mod. It's a must-have in my opinion. As I mentioned before, this wasn't present in the vanilla version due to hardware limitations. But now you can use your AP to travel around a bit more quickly. The 360 movement mod is also a must. This fixes the turning of the character in third person. It always bothered me how clunky turning felt, but now you can smoothly rotate around. And with the enhanced camera mod, you can zoom back even further and really soak in the environment as you travel. And speaking of traveling, another thing that always bothered me was all the invisible walls you would run into throughout the middle of the map. I know many of them had utility and sort of worked to funnel the player in certain directions along the map, but nonetheless, I found them super awkward. So installing the ultimate invisible wall remover seemed to be the obvious answer. Now the map was completely unlocked for me to explore. All of these mods together really make the game feel less dated. Another important point of focus is New Vegas itself. The entire story revolves around the Strip and how, thanks to Mr. House, it's continued to thrive even in the apocalypse. It's mentioned how people travel from all over to enjoy New Vegas and all of the luxuries it provides. But because of hardware limitations, the Strip ended up feeling a bit underwhelming. Instead of a vast location with multiple hotels and casinos along the way, it had to be divided up into sections. So, in order to stay true to how the developers originally intended the game to be, I think it only makes sense to use the Strip Open mod. This merges all of the various sections of the Strip together into one huge, colorful experience. Now, inside the casinos, you might remember them being a bit unpopulated. But with the Populated Casinos mod, each establishment becomes much more alive with activity, which again, I think the developers originally would have intended this to be the case. And finally, my favorite bone to pick with New Vegas, the suite. After making it all the way to the Lucky 38, Mr. House rewards you with your own luxury suite. But I think we can all agree this suite looks disgusting. Not that it's in bad condition, but there's absolutely no views, no natural lighting. Instead of a penthouse at the top of a casino, it looks more like an old room in a basement. Which brings me to my favorite mod in this video, the Lucky 38 Suite Reloaded version 4. In my opinion, this is how your penthouse was supposed to look. The first thing you'll notice is all the beautiful natural light coming in from the windows. This place has everything. There's a pool in the center of the suite, a large dining area, an incredible lounge, a medical facility, beautiful rooms and accommodations, your own armory, even your own robotic butler. But the coolest part of it all, the balcony. This balcony is physically connected to the Strip, and the view is amazing. You can see everything, including all of the NPCs walking on the Strip down below. The only thing I think was a bit silly is you have to pay 1,000 caps in order to access the balcony in the first place. This makes no sense to me. Why would you need to pay to unlock a door in a suite that was given to you as a gift? And who's the money going to anyway? But all things considered, I'm willing to overlook this minor detail for how much better this version of the player suite is. And that about wraps it up. Using these mods, this is how I would say New Vegas is supposed to look in 2022. I'll make sure to link these mods in the description so you can check them out for yourself. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. And as always, make sure to subscribe for more great Fallout content. I'm Chris the Key. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.
The key. Beard.